Good morning, everybody, and thank you guys so much for coming. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Peter Vogel. I am fortunate enough to be the new Executive Director for Catholic Community Services. Feel very, very honored by that. And I know the weather is terrible out there, pretty blustery day, so thank you all. We're very, very pleasantly surprised by the turnout we had today. Thank you so much for coming out. I have lived in Reno for about 2 months now, and this is only the second day I've actually seen any rain at all. So I think the odds were pretty good for us, but it didn't work out that way. And I had somebody mentioned to me earlier this morning that I hope this isn't an omen for the storming day being an omen for the long-term operations. And while I'm sure it's not, we have the bishop here today, so we're hoping that he can maybe say a little prayer for us and make that work out pretty well. So I think when we do celebrations like this, ribbon cuttings like this, it gives us an opportunity to step back just a little bit and think about how this program came to be, how this building came to be, because as we all know, they don't happen by accident. They happen with an awful lot of hard work. And actually, there was a quote that's one of my favorite quotes, and I want to take an opportunity just to read it really quickly, if that's okay. But this one's kind of important to me. You guys probably mostly know this. It's a Margaret Mead quote. "Never doubt that a small group of thoughtful, committed citizens can change the world. Indeed, it is the only thing that ever has." This project, I think, is sort of the same way. There are a few people that have been very, 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 very instrumental in this. The board had a really big role in it, and they were really helpful. Our staff had a lot to do with this. We have funders involved that I'm going to ask Mike to talk about a little bit and acknowledge that without their help and support, we wouldn't be able to have this building today, so that's huge. But the main driver in all of this, as most of you probably already know, is Michael Ford. I mean, it was his vision. He looked and he saw... Michael looked out, and those of you who know the history of this, there were a couple of buildings that we had that people were living in, and they weren't in the greatest condition. And Michael looked at that and just said that wasn't acceptable. The people that are going to live in our programs need to have a nicer place than that. And so this is his vision, and this is the outcome of his vision, and I'm very impressed. I hope you guys all too. And again, we'll get a chance to walk around. If you haven't been in some of the rooms, we're going to ask you to take the opportunity to do that today, at least down on the first floor. Those are all finished up and ready to go and look at. But Michael, would you come up here a second? One of the things that I hope Mike doesn't know this yet, but if you guys that know him, he has his nose in everything, so this may not be much of a surprise. But we have a plaque that we're actually going to put on this building that's going to go. It's actually got the screws in it. It's going to go right this morning, right outside. But let me read it to you. "In appreciation, this building exists as the result of the extensive efforts of Michael Ford, Executive Director of Catholic Community Services of Northern Nevada. It is because of his leadership and dedication that this building stands today." October 2009. Michael Ford.
Geez, thanks. There weren't supposed to be any names on this building, This is for the clients themselves. I do want to say thank you to everybody that showed up today in this rotten weather. When I first started trying to plan this, we didn't expect or anticipate, the bad weather. This project's been 5 years in the making, and first we had to convince a majority of the Board of Trustees. Never did quite get them all, but we were going to convince a majority of the Board of Trustees that the buildings that Pete made reference to were not acceptable, not habitable, life safety problems and what have you, and it would be just more expensive to put dollars into them to try to bring them up to more acceptable standards. And so the real logical choice was to replace the facilities. This is a $2.6 million budget for this project, and $2.6 million just doesn't grow on trees. So it took a while to actually put together the funding for this particular project. First of all, I'd like to thank Charles Schwab Bank, Nancy Brown, for helping us out with a little seed money to start with to do the capacity building, initial plans, some initial planning, some feasibility, that type of thing. Eric Novak, who's here in the audience today with Praxis Consulting, who assisted us with putting together various different grant applications. His particular profession is, affordable housing projects like this. So he helped us out with those grant applications. And then we went to the Washoe County Home Consortium, and were able to get eventually $1.2 million towards this particular project. That took a little bit of time, actually a couple of years to accomplish that, and I appreciate the assistance of Eric in the application and Jody Royal Goodwin, who's not here today. She's off doing some other gallivanting around of some fashion. And then we also got some dollars from the Affordable Housing Program of the Federal Home Loan Bank, again through the member bank of Charles Schwab, and that was $325,000. So we kind of been piecing this together over a couple of years to try to put together enough money to be able to do the project. Then we also were lucky enough to get a little bit of state money, actual state appropriation. Not the last session of the legislature, but the previous one actually had some dollars appropriated for transitional housing projects. And we were able, through that particular funding source, to pick up another $50,000 for the project. And we appreciate the assistance of Senator Raggio and the Assemblyman Sheila Leslie in helping facilitate that particular process for us. And then we continue to look for money. You know, my orders from the board that I used to work for was to continue to find money, and we approached several different foundations, and the Redfield Foundation finally helped us out here with $100,000 towards the very end of the construction cycle, and we greatly appreciate that. I don't know if Jerry Smith is here or Gene Jones. I haven't seen them, but we greatly appreciate their participation in the project as well. And then that leaves some dollars left over that we're going to be borrowing to a little extent from the diocese, and then through the Knights of Columbus, potentially for a bit of long-term debt, and Catholic Community Services put some of its own cash reserves into it. We had a bit of a setback here in the middle of this once we had design done. We had a little problem with the city of Reno. That's terrible. We submitted our plans actually in June of 2007, I think it was, or 2000. I can't remember what date anymore. But we had a little problem with the fire department and fire easements, and that took a little work to get that straightened away so that we could actually complete this project. And it was with the assistance of Mayor CASHELL and Renowned Health Systems and Steve DePagna that we were able to be able to work a deal with the easement with the hospital, which allowed the fire trucks to get in and then get out. Fire trucks don't back up. I learned through this particular project. You know. And then Q&D Construction has been our general contractor, and they've been great. Andy Breen, Chuck Evans, been fantastic here on the job. Of course, they were building a building designed by Brad Van Wert and John Witt from Sheehan Van Wert and Bugatti. Got it right. Okay, Sheehan Van Wert and Bugatti, you know, the architectural firm. We're not quite done. We've got about 3 to 4 more weeks to go. The ground floor here is all completed, and very nice for you to take a look around in some of these rooms. We'll be done and occupying probably mid-November. Because of the funding streams here, we've got a number of different conditions that we have to apply to our various different tenants. It's a bit more structured than it has been in the past. For our other facilities here, the front 2 buildings are about 25 units there. This particular structure has 28 studio apartments in it. But about mid-November, we'll be actually occupying these with our tenants and transitional housing types of services. Purpose of this room right here, a good example where we can have gatherings and allow our tenants to have interaction with various different local social service agencies for credit counseling, for job connection, for health services, for a variety of different things which the agency is going to be bringing on site. This is low-income affordable housing, and as I say, we've got a lot of conditions that we have to comply with.
We provide a myriad of just basic services that people in our community need on an emergency basis, and we do that every single day. And we also provide low-income and affordable housing, this is a wonderful new part of our services. We have several low-income affordable housing projects, but by building this new building, we've really been able to further encompass our vision for what low-income housing can be in this community, and we're very proud to do that. Michael briefly touched on the story of how this project came to be. He is not kidding when he said he had to sell this very much to our board. We have way too many lawyers and accountants on our board for this to have been an easy sell to everyone, as he very well knows and nods. we, even before the economic turndown, were of course very concerned about how we were going to fund this building, and Michael went out and did a fabulous job of getting the city on board, which the city is always on board with us, and we are so grateful to Mayor CASHELL for everything that he does to continue to support us. And various organizations, the funding sources all became available, and we at Catholic Community Services, as he mentioned, contributed our own funds to show you how much we believe in this project and how much we believe in what we need to continue to do for the city. And again, we are very, very grateful to Michael for everything that he did, and we were very grateful to everyone else who's been able to come forward and help us to see this project to fruition. So we thank you very much, all of you, for being here. And if you have any questions about what it is we do at Catholic Community Services, please feel free to see Peter or Michael or myself afterwards, because we'd love to tell you all about what we do with everyone else's help in this community. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Bridget. When I first started in this job, I can't tell you how many people sat me down and said, I want you to understand one thing. Mayor CASHELL has been a huge, huge supporter of us in so many different ways. Michael spent time telling me that, lots of people have. Mayor CASHELL, I'm so looking forward to getting a chance to partner with you and working with you going forward, and we really appreciate your support and help. We'd like you to come up and say a few words if you don't mind. Thank you.
Thank you. You got the juice next to you. Again, Michael, congratulations. You did a great job, and I think renowned when we ran into the problem of fire trucks not backing up or getting pinned in fire situations, which we had one south of town recently, and some damage done to one of our trucks because it couldn't maneuver around. So I really thank Renown for being a good corporate citizen and everybody working together. And this is another key to the positions and things we need in Reno in transitional housing and helping people get back on their feet that are down and out. And during these economic times, we have a lot of people that are going to be able to use this facility, and they really need it. It's a great asset. It's a great campus you've built here. And the city looks forward to working with you any way we can. And Michael, I know that I missed a fundraiser. I heard you had bid on something for me. I'm just waiting for you to tell me what it cost me. That's all I'm waiting for. But
We know how much it costs. We really will let you.
never mind. Yeah. But congratulations to Catholic Community Services. Bishop, thank you, and the diocese for everything y'all do to help the people that need in our community, and we really appreciate it, and thank you very much.
Next up is Bishop Calvo, who is, oh gosh, I'm sorry, I didn't look close enough. I'm sorry, Norm. Norm, come up if you will. Norm GIANDA of Q&D, who is, again, they have been absolutely, I was just chatting with Norm about it this morning, they have been absolutely wonderful in terms of putting this project together. It's been great to work with, so thank you.
Well, thank you very much, and first of all, I'd like to really thank Catholic Community Services for giving us the opportunity to build a building in the downturn of our economy. This was a very important job. It still kept a few people employed during a time of need, and believe me, every job today is so important to keeping people employed. The 28 housing units that are affordable, that's important to our community, and I think everybody should know that. I go back a long time with Mike Ford, and back to Little League, Pop Warner, YBA basketball, and we had some good times, but I have to tell you, Mike deserves a salute for his dedication, and I think we ought to give that to him right now. He's passionate about every detail of this project. Entitlement obstacles at the beginning would have defeated anybody else. Believe me. He came in more than once and we all sat there and scratched our head and said, what's next? But Michael never gave up the fight to bring better housing to those less fortunate. Some of those meetings, I know Michael just wanted to say the heck with it, let somebody else worry about it. But he hung in there, and Mike, thanks for your tenacity of, we had to beat up on CASHELL a little bit, but not too bad, right? I think we ought to salute the architect on this project, Brad Van Wert. Recently given the highest honor that the Nevada chapter of the American Institute of Architects can bestow on an individual. Brad, thank you. He received the silver medal. Residents can celebrate in a place that is designed by a distinguished architect. And I'd like to thank all those people from Q&D, from my senior VP, Tim Crutchmer, to our project, Andy Breen. The project has been a joy to work on because we feel part of the effort to help end the homeless in our community. Also, Chuck Evans and Eric Johansson. I don't know if Eric's here. But anyway, on behalf of Q&D and everybody involved, Bishop CALVO, Peter, Michael, thank you all very much. It's great to be a part of something that is so worthy in our community.
Norm, thank you. Yeah, this has been a great project, so we appreciate it. And it's a beautiful building, too, isn't it? Next up, our bishop, Bishop CALVO.
I know we've remarked about the rotten weather today, but there's another way to look at it. You know, when we have a ribbon cutting in the Catholic Church, we call it a blessing, and usually bring holy water. Well, I didn't bring any today because it'd be redundant. However, we could look upon this rain as a blessing, the gentle blessing upon us that we need rain, but also upon this new structure. So we ask the Lord to bless it with, as the rain comes down upon it today, that it may bear fruit to those who live here. I'd like to just close with this prayer, and as we do so, many words of thanks have been expressed, so let us wrap this prayer with the spirit of gratitude for all those who made this day possible. Peace be with this residence and with all who live here. Lord Jesus, we ask that you be close to all who live in St. Vincent's residence. Fill this building with your peace and grace. May all who make their home here find a place of rest and a new hope for their lives. Lord, be their shelter when they are at home, their companion when they are away, and their welcome guests when they return. And at last receive them into the dwelling place you have prepared for them in your Father's house, where you live forever and ever. Amen. Thank you.
Thank you.